Submerged under the sea for 1,000 years, two lost cities of ancient Egypt have been recently rediscovered, and their story is being told for the very first time at this blockbuster exhibition at the British Museum. Today on Arabesque, we're going to be talking to the people behind this exhibition of ancient Egypt's sunken cities and taking a look at those fascinating artefacts.
I'm Aurelia Masson-Berghoff. I'm the exhibition curator for Sunken Cities Egypt Lost World at the British Museum. I studied Greek civilization and Egyptology in Paris, and I spent many years of my life in Egypt since 2000. I particularly work as an archaeologist in the Temple of Karnak. But since 2012, I joined the British Museum to work on the Naucratis project. Naucratis was the first Greek settlement in Egypt, and it was a sister harbour town of Thonis-Heracleion, which is the new city that Franck Goddio discovered underwater. So that's why I came in to the picture of this exhibition. Yes, this exhibition is all about this recent underwater excavation made in the Bay of Abu Qir between Alexandria and Rosetta, where the famous Rosetta Stone was uncovered. And these two cities used to lie at the mouth of the Canopic branch, which was the most navigable branch in antiquity, and where Greek and other foreign traders would come into Egypt, and they would bring all their goods, and they would travel further down the Nile to Naucratis and Memphis, the ancient capital of Egypt. And Thonis-Heracleion really was the gateway of the Mediterranean world to Egypt. So it was a very important international harbour town, founded 3 centuries at least before Alexandria. It was so the major seaport before Alexandria.
I'm directing the excavation in the city of Canopus and the city of Thonis-Heracleion, which were submerged under the water of the Mediterranean Sea, west of Egypt. We were looking for 3 cities: the city of Canopus, the city of Thonis, and the city of Heracleion, who have never been discovered yet. And I was convinced that if they had not been discovered on land, it was for the very good reason that they were not on land, but most probably submerged under the sea. And in 1992, with the Ministry of Antiquity of Egypt, we started a vast program of study about everything first which has been written and mentioning those cities. Then after, we started a very long geophysics survey in the Bay of Abu Qir, where I was convinced they must be. And that survey lasted 3 years. And we started in 1996. In 1999, we started excavation on the site 2 kilometers away from the present coast of Egypt. And very fast, that site turned out to be the city of Canopus, with the very big temple of Serapis. Then 2 years after, 7 kilometers away from the coast of Egypt, we pinpoint a site with the instruments that most probably they were sink under the sediment in that region. And we started the excavation in 2001, and very fast we could secure that we had discovered the city of Heracleion. Wow. 10 days after, we could secure that we have discovered that city of Heracleion because of inscribed monument. 10 days after, finding an intact stele, we had the proof that the city of Thonis was the city of Heracleion. Thonis was the Egyptian name, Heracleion was the Greek name, and we had discover the 3 cities. There were only 2 cities. Well, there are fantastic moments, of course, when you understand that you have discovered those cities. But it's a progressive process, I would say. You don't jump in the water and say, I have discovered a city. No, you jump into the water, you look and you see absolutely nothing. There's only flat sand and you start excavating and you find a wall under the sea, 7 kilometers away from the coast. It's a good hint that you have, it's something important. Then after you start discovering statue, you start discovering a monument which is inscribed and saying that it's the shrine of the supreme god Ammon, and that this shrine is the shrine of the city, is the temple of the city of Heracleion, that you are sure that you are in Heracleion. Then a week later you discover a stele saying you are in Thonis. You know, that little by little you understand. It's like a big jigsaw game, you know. You put pieces and you assemble the pieces together. It's very, very emotional because you start discovering monuments, channels, in the channels shipwrecks, port basin, in the port basin shipwrecks, on some islands, small sanctuary. In the sanctuary you find ritual instruments, the shrines of the gods, you know. Thus you enter into the history and into the life of the city.
Well, we knew about them through a variety of textual sources like Egyptian decrees, but also Greek mythology and Greek historian. We know, for example, that for the ancient Greek, Helen of Troy and her lover Paris were misled by contrary wind, and they had to come into Egypt, and they actually, their boat stopped at Thonis-Heracleion and Canopus. And we know that from a Greek historian called Herodotus, who visited Egypt in 450 BC. And he said that Helen and Paris, at this time, at this mythical time of the Trojan War, saw a temple dedicated to Heracles. Heracles, who is a divine Greek hero, so a very important hero in Greek mythology. And Herodotus tells us, while he was visiting these cities, and there is still a temple to Heracles there. The research at Thonis-Heracleion and Canopus is an ongoing research. Franck Goddio will tell you, but he probably excavated only 5% of the site, so there's still so much more to uncover. But he started his work in the Bay of Aboukir in 1996, and he started with a huge survey covering 110 square kilometers. It covers about the surface of Paris. That's a huge part of the canopic region, which is completely sunken now. And after his survey, he was able to pinpoint the location of ancient remains. And since 1999, he excavated at Canopus, and a year later, he excavated in Thonis. But he's really doing surgical excavation because obviously he doesn't want to excavate it in one go. There's so much to uncover, and it's a really painstaking work to work underwater like that. So I think that, yes, more than 20 years of work, but probably hundreds of years of excavation to come. Already in 1933, there was an aerial survey led by Captain Kuhl from the Royal Air Force. With his plane, he was surveying the region of the Aboukir Bay, and he saw some ruins sticking out of the sea. And at that time, he told the Prince Omar too soon of that discovery, and they instigated a few underwater excavation, but they couldn't really excavate properly the site. They didn't have the modern technology to see the extent of this city, because most of the remains are now hidden under the sand and the silt. So it's only through modern technology really that Franck, Goddio and his team were able to uncover this new city. Obviously, when we learned about these discoveries, there was a huge excitement with Egyptologists and classicists as well, because we knew that these places were very important also for the Greek, for the encounter between ancient Greece and Egypt. But considering the object of great historic and artistic significance that they discover, we think that it will also extremely appeal to the wide public. I mean, the objects are fantastic. The Greeks, particularly when they came in Egypt already in the mid-7th century BC, obviously they arrived in a land where the culture and the beliefs were quite alien to them. For example, in Egypt, they were worshipping a lot of human-shaped gods, and that was something that they didn't really partook into. What you see just behind me is just a fragment of a huge 6.1 meter stela, the largest ever discovered in Egypt. And this is a stela which dates from the Greco-Macedonian rule in Egypt. The king, so a Greek ruler, is depicted in the scene above. He is accompanied by two of his wives, Cleopatra II and Cleopatra III, and he is making offerings to Egyptian gods. The god Amun, his wife Mut, and after that comes a line of deified ancestors of Ptolemies, because for the sake of royal propaganda, they promoted the cult of the king and the queen of the Ptolemaic dynasty. And the text below here is just in hieroglyphs, but as I said, this is just a fragment. The lower part of the text was completely written in Greek. So this is a bilingual stela, a little bit like the Rosetta Stone, but obviously of a much massive size that we have behind us. And it shows obviously this intermingling between Egypt and Greek, because in the text, Egyptian priests are honoring these Greek kings as one who was extremely good for Egyptian temple. He made really, a lot of offering, gave a lot of probably money to this Egyptian temple. And it's great, obviously, to have discovered such a wonderful stela. Very often people think that you've got obviously Greek and Egyptian side combined together. The result can be a little bit awkward and unnatural. But if you see a statue like the statue of Arsinoe, you can see that this is completely wrong. You have, the use of the dark local stone is very much Egyptian, as well as this striding, confident pose. But the sensual rendering of her body, the play with the transparent garment, this is really Greek. And the combination of both of these styles seems so natural and so perfect. So I think this is a great example that a mixture of culture can be extremely successful, as it is shown through this object.
One very emotional instant was the time when, in front of the temple, of the main temple of the city, we started discovering fragments of two colossal statues, one representing the king, the pharaoh of Egypt, accompanied by his wife, represented as the goddess Isis. I presume that we haven't touched more than 5% of the site. Thus, most of the discoveries to be done are ahead of us. Discoveries are important for the history of Egypt because they do illustrate some ancient texts that we have, but they do also bring more information to those texts and more information to the history of Egypt and also to the history of that fabulous encounter of those two main civilizations, the Egyptian civilization and the Greek civilization.
Wow, what an amazing and inspiring exhibition here at the British Museum. Ancient Egypt, Sunken Cities is definitely something to come and see. We'll see you next time on Arabesque. Take care.